We're learning today about Tkiyat Shofar. We want to know where you learn Shofar from. It's a mitzvah deoraita. In the mitzvah, in the Torah, it says, in the Torah, on Rosh Hashanah, Shabbaton Zichron Trua. This is a pasuk in the Torah, in Parashat, in Sefer Vayikra. Another pasuk in Sefer Bamidbar is Yom Trua Yeh Lachem. So you have over here twice that the Torah calls this day Trua. The Tkiyat Shofar is called in the Torah Trua. Then another time it says on Yom Kippur, that's on the Yovel, it says over there Ve'avarta Shofar Teruah. So there's three times that it says Trua in the Torah. One time by Yom Kippur, not regular Yom Kippur and every year, because there's not Tkiyat Shofar on Yom Kippur. This time we blow the shofar at the end of Yom Kippur. It's just as a signal for people that the day is over. But when is it the mitzvah of the Torah to blow the shofar on Yom Kippur? That's in the Yovel, every 50 years. And over there it says, V'avarta shofar teruah. Then you have two other times that it says to blow the shofar. Again, the Torah calls it Truah, Yom Truah Elachem, Shabbaton, Zichron, Truah. When is that? On Rosh Hashanah. So you have three times Truah. The Gemara learns from those three times that it needs to be all the same. This Truah, like that Truah. And therefore, we learned that also you have to have three truot on each time you blow the shofar. You need to have three, the mitzvah of the Torah. What's the essence of the mitzvah? To blow truah three times. That's how Chazal learn it. This that the Torah says truah one time means that you blow it one time. Why does the Torah needs to repeat it a second time? Chazal learn from that it needs to be repeated the second times in order to be yotzeh the mitzvah. And then it says again Truah on Yom Kippur. The Gemara learns that it's the same word, what we call Gzera Shava, shiu kol Truot Shavot zu lazu, and therefore you need to have three Truot. You need to have three Truot on each mitzvah, on the mitzvah of blowing the shofar on Rosh Hashanah. What is a truah? We're not sure. We need to identify what does it mean truah. So therefore, the Gemara goes through explaining that the unkulus translated truah yebava. What's yebava? Now I know what it is. Truah is yebava. But what is yebava? That I don't know. So we found the pasuk by Em Sisra. It says, "Vayteyabev Em Sisra." So we found the same word. What did she do? She cried. Why did she cry? Because Sisra went to a war with his army against Am Yisrael. Then she waited for the people to come back after a war. The warriors come back home, whether they're victorious or they lost the battle. You see the way they come back home, and she's waiting and she's waiting. And she sees that he's not coming back home. And then after a certain time, she starts really, it's a mother's worry that her son went to a battlefield. It's not, he didn't go for ice cream. And then when she sees that time has passed, she started crying. But they bev em sisra. The ladies that were around her, they tried to calm her down. They told her it's probably taking all the lootings around in the war and taking whatever he found over there for himself, for his pleasures. But this didn't calm her down, and she was crying. That's called V'teyabev Em Sisra. So now we know the definition of Yom Yebava, a day of Yebava. What's Yebava? Day of crying, which means the blowing of the shofar must have a sound of crying. But Chachamim say there's two forms of crying. There's a form that a person cries with longer sounds, and a person cries with shorter sounds. Like this, you have a longer sound. Let's make a demonstration. Doesn't come out like a cry. This will be a longer one, what we call, as we'll see, shvarim, and then you have a shorter sound. Yeah? This will be what we call truah. So you have two sounds, shvarim, truah. Both are under the Torah command to do truah, a day of crying. a longer sound and a shorter sound. A shorter sound. Each one is a shorter sound, and together they form a sound of crying. So now, yeah.
What's the tekiah sound?
Okay, we'll see. We're getting to it. So let's see. This is the Shulchan Aruch in Siman Taf Kuf Tzadik. Let's summarize for you what it says over here. Let's just read it very quickly. How many sounds you have? Sounds of Tkiyah you have to hear on Rosh Hashanah. Tesha, 9. We'll see soon how. Meanwhile, we learned that it needs to be a Truah only, right? But we have a doubt whether it is Shvarim or what we call Truah. Shvarim, again, the longer sound of broken into 3, right? Again, so longer sound. Longer sound, or some make it even longer. It depends. We'll see a Machloket Rashi and Rabbeinu Tam, according to the way they do it today. Is the halacha is like Rabbeinu Tam, seem to be a little bit longer. Right? That's what we call Shvarim. And then you have the Truah. Okay? Now, when we're dealing with the sound of Tkiyah, we found Tkiyah that needs to be done before the Truah and the Shvarim, and a Tkiyah that is a sound after. Where is that coming from? Because the Torah says, Ve'avarta shofar teruah. Ve'avarta, you should pass through. Pass through, Chachamim learn, it's a long sound. When does it need to be? Ve'avarta shofar teruah. First, avarta, and then the Truah. What does the Torah say first? Avarta, which means a long sound, what we call Tkiyah, and only then the Truah. So therefore it goes like this. That would be a Tkiyah. Then the Truah comes out, whatever you call it Truah. But what precedes to that, what comes before that, is the Tkiyah, long sound. Right? Now, this is before. Then it says, Ta'aviru shofar, afterwards. So you have Avara before the Truah and Avara after the Truah. What is the Avara again? We said that the Avara, Ta'aviru, means a long sound, what we call it Tkiyah. So it comes out, you have Tkiyah, Truah, Tkiyah. But in the middle, we have a doubt what it is. So you do Tkiyah. Shvarim. Tkiyah. That would be Tarat. Tkiyah, Truah, Tkiyah. Maybe it is Shvarim, we said, right? You have a doubt. So maybe it goes like this. Tkiyah, Truah, Tkiyah, Tarat. What is it? Shvarim in the middle, which is the 3 sounds that are a little bit longer, or it's Truah, which is the shorter sounds, one after the other. That is a doubt of Chazal. Says the halacha. Truah zo amura b'Torah. This Truah that the Torah speaks about. Nistapek lanu. We have a doubt. Im yayelala. Is it a crying shanu korim Truah? Whether it is the Truah, or im ma shanu korim shvarim. Maybe it is shvarim. Shvarim. We don't know. Or maybe a third doubt. Maybe they are together. Both of them, im shneim yachad. Why? Because sometimes when a person cries, he starts with longer sounds and he goes to shorter sounds. So it kind of sounds like this. First, we need to do Tkiyah. Then you have the crying sound. Maybe it's a combination of both. Right? Maybe it's a combination of both. Tosfot ask, maybe it's the opposite. Maybe it should be Truah and then Tkiyah. Why is it not like that? Tosfot says that people don't cry like that. The way people cry is either Trua or Shvarim Trua, but not first Trua, not the short sounds, and then go to the longer sound. That's not how people cry. And therefore comes out the halacha like this. Yesh omrim, well, before that, תרועה זו אמורה בתורה נסתפק לנו. אם היא היללה שאנו קוראים תרועה, the middle one should be the short sounds that we call תרועה, או אם מה שאנו קוראים שברים, the longer sounds, או אם שניהם ביחד, לפיכך כדי לצאת מידי ספק. You have a doubt. You don't know which one it is, but you have to cover all possibilities. צריך לטוע תשרת 3 פעמים. You have to blow תשרת, תקיעה, שברים, תרועה, תקיעה, 3 times, because you need to do it 3 times. Remember, we said you need to do תרועה 3 times, because the Torah called it 3 times. ועברת שופר תרועה, שבתון זיכרון תרועה, יום תרועה לכם, you need to have 3 תריעות. And those 3 תרועות, you need to have תקיעה beforehand, and תקיעה afterwards. So you need to have תקיעה, תרועה, תקיעה 3 times. So you have to do what? To be yotze 100%, cover all possibilities. How many sounds you'll have to do? You'll have to do combination of 3 sets of 3. 3 sets of 3, which means you need to have tashrat, the combination of maybe the R both together 3 times, tashrat, tashrat, tashrat. Maybe it is shvarim, alone, so you do tkiya, shvarim, tkiya 3 times, tashat, tashat, tashat. Maybe it is trua, so you need to have combination of tarat, tarat, tarat. That set of tashrat, 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 tashat, 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 tarat, tarat, tarat is the minimum that you have to do in order to fulfill your obligation on Rosh Hashanah, to cover all possibilities. If you didn't do that way, you could be very much you didn't get the right combination, because if, let's say, the right way to do it according to Torah should be tarat, and you did tashrat, so why tashrat doesn't cover everything? You did tashrat, 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 that should cover tarat and should cover tashat, because you had in it shvarim and truah. That's not good. You know why not? Because if it is tarat, the shvarim interrupted between the tkiya before the truah. You have to have tkiya, again, long sound. Then you have to have tarat. You have to have truah. If you didn't do it right after the other, and that is the correct way, and you did in the middle, shvarim, you interrupted between the tkiya and the truah. Versteh? You understand? What? You like that?
So minimum is 9? Is that what you're saying? Minimum.
Well, it's not really 9. You know why it's not 9? Because tashrat is shvarim truah. So you're right. It's 9, but each of the tashrat is made out of 2 sounds. So you're right. There's 9 sets. Tashrat, tashrat, tashrat. Tashat, 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 tarat, tarat, tarat. That's 9. You're right. You're right. How many sounds you have? It's 3 times 3, but it's not really 3 times 3, because you have 4 on the first 3. Right? So that's the basic of the thing. Why do we blow it 2 times? You have over here what we call תקיעה de meyoshev and תקיעה de meomed. What's תקיעה de meyoshev? First, when it gets time to the תקיעת shofar, everybody sits down, and the chazan says the beracha, לשמוע קול shofar, and everybody's listening quietly. Everybody's listening to the first set, and that's it. And afterwards, you start musaf. The musaf of Rosh Hashanah is lengthy, right? You have Malchuyot, Zichronot, Shafarot. It's very lengthy. In the middle, by the end of Malchuyot, you do again the set. Tashrat, Tashrat, Tashrat. Different minhagim on different places. But whatever it is, we do Tashrat, 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 then Tashat, Tashat, Tashat. Some do Tashrat, Tashat, Tarat. And each one after Shofar, after Zichronot also the same. And also after Shofarot, Tashrat, Tashat, Tarat. Right? Why do you do it a second time like that? The reason the Gemara says is that the first set was in order to confuse the Satan. The Satan on that day comes to prosecute Am Yisrael, and we try to confuse him. So how do you confuse him? You blow the shofar a second time. And there's different understanding in the Rishonim. How does it get confused? Some say that when the Satan hears that Am Yisrael loves the mitzvah so much, recommended to do it one time, one set, and we do it a second time. Kiyot de me'omed, kiyot de me'yoshev, and then kiyot de me'omed, standing, the kiyot of standing, of the Amidah. So he sees that Am Yisrael loves the mitzvot so much, nistatmu ta'anotav, it doesn't have what to say. His mouth gets shut. He's stuck. Some say, Tosfot brings down, that the Satan thinks that Mashiach is coming. He knows that when the Mashiach will come, itaka b'shofar gadol. There'll be the blowing of the big shofar, the big blowing of the shofar. Okay, if that is the case, comes Rosh Hashanah, he's not worried. Why? Because Rosh Hashanah is a mitzvah to blow the shofar. So he's not thinking maybe the Mashiach came. But then when he hears this a second time, that's not part of the mitzvah, that's not part of the plan. Something's wrong in the picture. And therefore, he starts getting confused. When he starts getting confused, he doesn't have what to say. Instead of that's in Shalmala, he's confused, he doesn't have what to say. Yeah.
So then, if every year it's the same Satan doing the same prosecution, right?
How come he doesn't know it from last year?
The second time already that, okay, this is part of their...
It's a good question. It's a good question. The Mefarshim do ask that question, but just to understand something very very clear, you should know that when we are dealing with the way Chazal worked out things and they fixed the way to do it, they understood clearly the way things work out. In other words, we have that good question, and it is a good question. On the surface level, it sounds like an excellent question. You should have learned already from the first and second time. But Chazal knew that that's the way the Satan works, and therefore this is the way it's going to get him confused. So we have this question, and it's a very good question, and Farshim deal with the question. I'm not saying this is obvious question. But with the same time, we need to understand that this is the technique that gets the Satan confused. There's other ways also to explain this, but let's just go on with the halacha over here. I want to take you to the next halacha, Sif Gimel, in the Shulchan Aruch, which says there's a machloket Rashi and Rabbeinu Tam, and that's important to know. There's machloket Rashi and Rabbeinu Tam. According to, you need to know first of all a rule that the Mishnah says that the tkiyah, the long sound, ve'avarta shofar, needs to be the same length as the teruah. Which means, how long is the teruah? Let's say the teruah is 9 sounds. Yeah, let's say that's 9 sounds. So whatever long it takes, you have to do the tkiyah that length. Okay? By the way, whenever you don't sound, the shofar doesn't sound good, it's not my fault, it's the shofar. You should know that. It's a bad shofar. But
I wanted to try to time it.
okay, but that is the rule. It needs to be at least that. In other words, you can do it longer, you can do the tkiyah longer, you can do also the teruah longer, but you can't have it less than that. So we need to know what's the minimum size of the teruah. The teruah that we're doing, is it 9 sounds? Yeah? You can do it longer. But you have to have a minimum. Is it 9 sounds? Rashi, this is Rabbeinu Tam opinion. And this is what we do in shuls. But Rashi says it's 3 sounds. That's it, 3. 1, 2, 3. 3. And therefore the tkiyah would be that length. That's it. And the shvarim has to be less than the tkiyah, because if you do the shvarim, remember the shvarim is the three sounds, longer sounds. but it's not a very long sound. If you make the shvarim as lengthy as the tkiah, it's not a shvarim anymore. יצא מכלל shvarim ונכנס לתקיעה. It already called it tkiah. So you have to do, according to Rashi, it's a little bit tricky. Also, Rabbeinu Tam, you have to be careful, even if you make it long, but the tkiah can't be that, the shvarim can't be that long. So if you do like we do in shuls, you do tkiah. Right? Now, if this is 9 sounds, when you do the shvarim, you have to be careful that it will be less than that. It's got to be less. If it can combine in it 9 sounds, it's a problem. Let's see the other shofar. Let's see really if it's my fault or the shofar fault. Let's see.
I think it sounds good, though.
Let's see. My fault. Okay. So according to Rashi, how would it be? How would it be? 3 short. Let's see. 3 sounds. So you remember, tuah is like this. Everything starts with the tuah. How long is the tuah? 9 sounds. 3. 3. The tuah should be, the tkiah should be the length of that, or longer. That's it. Shvarim should be not as long as tkiah, and not as short as tuah, because if it's short tuah, it becomes tuah, so it should be in the middle. It should be like this, according to Rashi. This is important to know this Rashi, because this is an opinion that really a person should be try to be machmir and be yotzeh after shul. I every year blow that for the keilah, for the congregation, according to Rashi's opinion, because the Baal Tokea was only blowing according to Rabbeinu Tam. We'll see soon. But you need to also be yotzeh Rashi, because it's brought down in the Shulchan Aruch. And although that's the minhag became like Rabbeinu Tam, but many poskim say that one should be yotzeh like Rabbeinu Tam as well. After the shul, after davening is over, one should listen to the blowing of Rashi as well to be yotzeh, because maybe the halacha is a kasha. It's just like you have tefillin, Rashi and Rabbeinu Tam. We do put our tefillin like Rashi. But many want to be yotzeh also Rabbeinu Tam, so they put a second pair of tefillin. Same thing over here. This is very important. The person could be yotzeh easily with Rashi after tefillah. So again, according to Rashi, it will be like this. Right? Longer tkiah, which should be at least 3 sounds long, the equivalent of 3 sounds long. Short shvarim, not as long as the tkiah, the minimum tkiah of 3 sounds, and not as short as the tuah, each sound, which is called trumatin or koach. Koach means a power, a strength, a sound. 1 sound, ooh, ooh, ooh. That's it. This is Rashi's opinion. Again, the Shulchan Aruch brings this down as Yesh Omrim, and then he brings Rabbeinu Tam as Yesh Omrim. And many poskim say that Yesh Omrim ve'Yesh Omrim, when you have Yesh Omrim ve'Yesh Omrim, we go like the second Yesh Omrim. That is the halacha. But Lemaise, in the end of the day, even according to that, you need to try to be yotzeh the first Yesh Omrim, especially if it's the Oraita. This is how the Pri Megadim say. And also this rule that Yesh Omrim ve'Yesh Omrim, Halachot Yesh Omrim Bata, is not agreed according to everybody. So a person should try to be yotzeh, especially that it's brought down in the poskim, this idea that one needs to be machmir. Brought down in many poskim, Or Lesion also brings this down. Rabbeinu Tam again would be the longer way. He would say that it needs to be twice 9 sounds. 9 sounds? 9. And therefore the tkiah would be that length. And the tuah would be, and the shvarim would be in the middle. It needs to be the sound of 3 strength, kochot, rumatin, at least. But make sure that it's not much longer. So what's the length of 3 rumatim? That's it. 3 would be, right? So that needs to be the length of those 3. That's it. That's the length of the shvarim. Okay? So he brought down over here these two opinions, and the Shulchan Aruch says that one should, the first opinion, one should do like Rashi, the way we explained. Second opinion, like Rabbeinu Tam. He doesn't say more than that, but that's the way the poskim learn that Yesh Omrim Ve'esh Omrim, the halacha should be like Yesh Omrim Batra, like the opinion of Rabbeinu Tam that we just explained. This is a quick, short summary with very, very quality Baal Tokea to demonstrate the tkiyot of the shofar. Chazak u'baruch for staying.